obviously it's the Dylan Thomas the play for voices, as it was first referred to in the 50s when it was broadcast on BBC Radio. There was an adaptation at the movies in the early 70s, Richard Burton and Liz Taylor and Peter O'Toole. This version has got some interesting pedigree, actually. So it's directed by Kevin Allen, who made his name with Twin Town in the 90s. He also directed Agent Cody Banks 2 Destination London. We'll gloss over that one. But the star of Twin Town is also in this, and the exec producer, Rhys Ifans. One of the writers is Murray Lachlan-Young. You might remember sort of back in the early 90s, poetry was briefly the new rock and roll, and I think Murray Lachlan-Young got a record deal for millions of pounds or something. He's one of the writers, the adapters of Under Milkwood. But the story remains the same. It's this surreal peek into the dreams and the private thoughts of a group of locals in a small Welsh coastal village where girls come to be lonely, as one of the lines rather beautifully says. This is a clip from Under Milkwood.
Hush, the babies are sleeping. The farmers, the fishers, the tradesmen and pensioners, cobbler, school teacher, postman and publican, the undertaker and the fancy woman, drunkard, dressmaker, preacher, policeman, the webfoot cockle women and the tidy wives. Young girls lie bedded soft or glide in their dreams with rings and trousseau, bridesmaided by glowworms down the aisles of the organ-playing wood. The boys are dreaming wicked of the bucking ranches of the night and the Jolly Rogered sea. And the anthracite statues of the horses sleep in the fields, and the cows in the byres, and the dogs in the wet-nosed yards, and the cats nap in the slant corners or lope sly, streaking and needling on the one cloud of the roofs.
And the critic looks down ruefully at his microphone.
It's a bit more over the engine, that one, I think, isn't it? It's full of gorgeous moments, though. The visuals that accompany what is traditionally, like I said, a radio play for voices. Very lush, very haunting. You get some carnival-esque images, surreal, sexual, some just plain silly and funny. And then you combine that with the very famous, dense, rich voices, and you have something that's very hypnotic, actually, to watch, hypnotically appealing. I think for a while, the problem I've always had with Under Milkwood remains, and that is, it is so packed, it is so full, after about half an hour, it's exhausting. Perhaps even more so now, because you don't just have the words, you also have the images as well. So it's a double whammy, really, of intensity. It's like some very rich dessert where you look at it and you think, oh yeah, that's going to be amazing, I'm going to eat the whole thing. And then after a couple of spoonfuls, you go, it's a little bit rich for me, maybe I can't manage the whole thing. But that's not to take away the craftsmanship. I think the craftsmanship is beautiful. Some of the lines are just fabulous, whacking thighed and piping hot. I mean, beautiful stuff. For me, it was all a little bit too much. Arguably, you're giving visuals to something that doesn't necessarily need them, and that's certainly not how it was originally written.
Well, it was originally, as you say, written as a play for voices for radio, and Dylan Thomas actually performed it himself in New York, and he finished writing it shortly before he kind of died. And actually, it's an interesting companion piece to Set Fire to the Stars, which came out last year, which was that story about Dylan Thomas in America. And I have to say, I thought I don't know if anyone remembers or whether you've seen the 1972 film with Richard Burton. Had Elizabeth Taylor in it, had Peter O'Toole in it, an extraordinary cast. And that's a much more difficult watch because you've got these kind of narrators wandering through the village, not moving their mouths, yet, Richard Burton's wonderful tones coming through. And this, I thought, actually dealt with that a lot better. And I thought that whole thing of it being dreamlike worked a lot better. I mean, I take your point about it becomes so overloaded, and also the Welsh accent and the lyrical form of Dylan Thomas's writing makes it sound like music. So it felt like a very long music video. If you know what I mean.
I know, I totally know. The rhythm of it as well, the rhythm of the speech. I thought it was beautiful, but just a bit too much.